Everything was measured very, very accurately.
Now to one of the most remarkable discoveries about prehistoric building. Once again, it's the cult sites of southern England that present us with a puzzle. Stonehenge, Avebury, and the curious hill called Tor, outside the small town of Glastonbury, form an almost right-angled triangle. If we measure the distance from the centre of Avebury to the centre of Stonehenge, we find it's 27,830 metres. The equator is exactly 40,074,998 metres long. Divide that by the distance from Avebury to Stonehenge and you get 1,440. Which is 24 times 60, the number of minutes in a day. Put another way, as the Earth revolves, the distance travelled by a point on the equator in a minute is the same as the distance from Avebury to Stonehenge. And the distance from Avebury to Glastonbury Tor? At 66,792 metres, it's also an integral fraction of the equator. This time the factor is 600, which can also be expressed as 5 times 12 times 10. The ancient Greeks had a unit of length called a stadion. It was equal to 600 feet. This is where the mists of Avalon swirled, and where the legendary King Arthur cast away his magical sword, Excalibur. The hill has obviously been shaped by human hand, and the church tower that crowns it looks more like a giant megalith. In ancient times, the hill is also thought to have been topped by a ring of stones. The Glastonbury area seems to offer particularly fertile soil for legends. There are tales of a biblical thorn bush here and of the young Jesus visiting the place with his uncle, Joseph of Arimathea. This is the home of a surprising number of people who hold our ancient forebears in the greatest respect. Artists especially are inspired and impressed by the vestiges of the past.
I think they had a profound understanding that behind the workings of the universe and the solar system and the intelligence of the planet and the working of the buzzy bees and gravity and day and night and the psychology of animals, the psychology of the humanity, behind all that was a profound divine intelligence. I think Stonehenge and Avebury, particularly Stonehenge, is in a way the inheritor and kind of flowering that we have as an example of that continuous observation and relationship to the Earth and to the solar system and universe we live within.
Glastonbury is a unique little town in Great Britain. Long before the term New Age became a buzzword, this was a rendezvous point for modern pagans, crystal gatherers, self-styled magicians and imaginative souvenir sellers. But apart from the kitsch and the hocus-pocus, Glastonbury was always a meeting place for unconventional thinkers, artists and alternative amateur scientists. This fairly unprepossessing gate gives access to the extensive grounds of Glastonbury Abbey. The shell of the once mighty Benedictine monastery has been a ruin since the days of the Tudor king Henry VIII. In the midst of the grand church is the alleged burial place of the legendary King Arthur and his beautiful wife. Here, on our search for unusual traces of the past, we encountered a curious tale. The Druid priests here are said to have observed the Star of Bethlehem and interpreted it as the sign of the birth of a saviour. Whatever the truth of the story, this was the site of the first Christian community in the British Isles. Since it was founded as early as the 2nd century, the new religion seems to have been regarded with a certain benevolence by the spiritual leaders of the time. The monastery's days ended in 1539. The abbot and 2 of his monks were executed on Glastonbury Tor. The Glastonbury-Stonehenge-Avebury triangle has even more surprises in store. Almost exactly in the middle is the small town of Warminster, a place renowned for UFO sightings. Since 1964, hundreds of strange sights have been reported. All of the reports sound weird, which is also the name of a conference that's been a magnet for British UFO enthusiasts since 2009. It all started with inexplicable noises, then growing numbers of flying balls of light seen by increasingly large numbers of people. When a British tabloid reported the phenomena in summer 1965, thousands of curious visitors flocked to the hills around Warminster after dark.
And probably the one which would be classed as a typical UFO sighting happened in May of 1977. We were walking down from the copse area at Cradle Hill, and then 4 lights appeared coming over from Cop Heap, and they stationed themselves over Battersby Hill in a line horizontally. And then after about 2 or 3 minutes, these red lights which were flashing like this, the left object then shot off horizontally at a very fast rate of speed, and then performed a 90-degree, flawless 90-degree turn without stopping and shot straight into the sky. The other 3 objects that it left behind then, after about 30 seconds, then just shot simultaneously together upwards at a fast rate of speed.
Even today, around 40 years after the spate of sightings, Cradle Hill and Clay Hill are still popular skywatch sites for UFO hunters. The place may no longer be a centre for unexplained flying objects, but the mood is reminiscent of the days when hundreds crowded onto this hill to scour the sky from sleeping bags. The fact that Warminster is located right beside a large military training area is often cited by skeptics as an explanation for the strange lights in the sky. UFO believers reckon that secret weapons testing could explain no more than 80% of the sightings. But balls of light in the night sky are not the only inexplicable phenomena in this area. The Avebury and Stonehenge area has the highest known concentration of crop circles, a phenomenon that has aroused a great deal of media interest here and also caused considerable public amazement since 1990. Amateur researchers gather at a pub on the Kennet and Avon Canal. The landlord's claim that it's probably the most famous pub in the universe is a reference to its role as a meeting point for all those who come here every summer in search of answers and news. The latest aerial photographs are often tacked to the wall by the photographers themselves. The precise locations of the astonishing geometrical patterns are marked on the maps. It's regarded as a point of honour that a field should only be accessed with the farmer's permission. Many farmers are proud of their phenomena. Some refuse access, others charge admission. Since 1995, the website cropcircleconnector.com has added to the swift and global flow of information about cornfield artworks. A hit count of more than 7.5 million is impressive evidence of keen worldwide interest.
It's a silly question. I don't know. Nobody knows. Anybody who says they know is either a fool or a liar, or perhaps both. A foolish liar, a lying fool. But nobody knows. I don't know. I've been involved with this for 20 years. I've written 6 books. I'm supposed to be a world expert. People keep telling me I'm a world expert. I know nothing. I can't answer your question.
Phenomenon or hoax, all the corn formations have one thing in common: complex geometry coupled with imaginative design and mathematical expertise. The images created are discrete but memorable, examples of the sheer beauty of geometrical harmony. From southern England to the Teutoburg forest, almost exactly in the middle of Germany. The Ecksteinsteiner rocks are claimed to have been a sacred place in pre-Christian times. Christianized with a hermitage by Charlemagne. There are no archaeological finds pointing to prehistoric cultic use, but a number of the rocks have been carved with stone tools. In recent historical times, the place's image was damaged by Nazi interest. Here, neo-paganist elements in the Nazi leadership saw a source of strength and power. Ley lines have also been identified in this area, allegedly crossing at the Ecksteinsteiner rocks. One thing is certain, this is a place that inspires dreams and fantasies. Another special landscape, dotted with places for prayer or contemplation, Gnadenwald in the Inn Valley east of Innsbruck. This is the home and workplace of Professor Jörg Pörner, now retired. At Innsbruck University, his subjects were the basics of architectural design, intangible dimensions of the design of buildings, and issues specific to the location of churches and cult sites.
It started for me with an odd situation as an assistant at the Agriculture Institute in Graz. I was given an assignment, a top-secret assignment I should add, to study radiesthesia, the phenomenon of detecting energies, radiations, in the human body. I found that very weird at first, because I didn't believe there was anything in it. But as time went on, I found more and more evidence